What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber. On this episode, I want to dive into, from the book Tribe of Millionaires, the concept of the influence effect. The influence effect essentially says that your destiny is shaped by those around you. Your destiny is shaped by those around you, who you're influenced by. And as men, especially, I think we're in a day and age where, man, there's a lot of pushback on just the idea of being a man. There's concepts like toxic masculinity, which have become synonymous with just masculinity generally. It's really kind of sad. So men need other men. I think that's the key to it. And as a guy here who's hosting the Tribe of Millionaires podcast and who talks about his membership in GoBundance as a community of men that I get to hang out with and learn and grow from, I want to break down a couple of concepts here that we get into that I think will help when it comes to you considering, do you have the right people surrounding you right now? Are you in the right community? Do you have the right tribe? So I want to dive into a reel I saw from Chris Rock. And it starts with him saying, essentially, superheroes hang out in the League of Justice for a reason. And he goes into this idea like, hey, it's great to have your buddies. It's great to have your friends. But you need to be around people that have done things that you haven't done before, that have read books that you haven't read, that have accomplished things that you haven't accomplished, that have been places that you've never been before. I think that's such a great analogy for what it is to find, if you're a high-value man in particular, other high-value men to be surrounded by. Men that are not only going to push you on your financial success, but on being a better husband, on being a better father, and so on. I want to dive into this a little bit more and then use my story as an example. For the first 40 years of my life, the people I surrounded myself with were the 5 or 6 friends that I grew up with and varying degrees of W-2 friends that I had, people that I worked with at my job. Friends that I thought were friends in life, but really I learned that they were only friends in the type of life that was supported by working at the company I worked for, most of them. There's 1 or 2 that I've maintained, and our friendships went above and beyond just the job. But for the first 40 years of my life, I look at it this way. I chose, and some of it conditioning, I suppose, to kind of go the standard route with who I surrounded myself with. So it was, again, high school friends, some college age friends, and then coworkers that I became friends with. And so from the age of 21 in particular to 40, I worked my ass off going from low-level employee to supervisor to manager to eventually executive and director for this big insurance company. And I made a nice living. And it took me, again, 21 years of my adult life or 20 plus years of my adult life to do that. And I was really preparing for myself to have that ascension for the first 20 years of my life. In the 5 years since I've decided that, I don't think that W-2 life was for me. I want to do something different. Started with real estate, ended with podcast, brand, those sorts of things that many of you may follow. In the 5 years that has happened, it's all come down to a decision I made. And that was to find a group of people, in this case, a group of men, that aligned with who I was becoming. So that was GoBundance. For me, it was worth the financial investment and the time investment to be surrounded with men, these superheroes in the League of Justice, that have done things I haven't done, accomplished things I haven't accomplished, have been places I haven't been, have read books I haven't read, who think in ways that I hadn't thought. And in those 5 years, when I look at what's happened, and I can only point to one intervening event, and that is joining GoBundance. That's it. Finding a mastermind, getting around other high-value men. I've bought and sold 41 units of real estate. I'm a partner in 200 and some units syndicated out of Denver, thanks to partnering with a member of GoBundance. I'm sitting now on the board of a startup that I'm really excited about being on that board, which is, again, another member of GoBundance. I moved my family to the Dominican Republic. I quit my high-paying day job. I've been able to build a community in Emerge that has done really, really well and has created over 70 millionaires. All of these things in 5 years, because here's what happens. When you talk about the influence effect, I'll talk about another effect, which is the accountability effect from Tribe of Millionaires. Here's what happens. When I go into a room with guys that are accomplished, that I respect, that are further ahead than me, and I say to them, you know what, guys, I think I'm going to quit my job one day. What they say is not, are you sure? Have you thought through it? What about this? What about that? What they say is, how do we get you there? What's your next move? Tell me the next step for you to get there. And then I say what that next step is. And every week I meet with these guys talking about the steps. So 2 things happen when I meet with them every week. One is I have to show up, and if I didn't say what I was going to do, if I didn't do what I was going to say, if I didn't do what I said I was going to do, I got to face a group of guys that I really respect, I value their time, and tell them, yeah, hey, I'm a complete and total fraud. I'm a liar. Nope, I didn't mean what I said. I didn't intend to advance on this journey or this dream that I had. So there's inherent accountability just showing up with these other guys. And the second thing that happened was on the weeks or in the times where I felt like, you know what, I'm losing my nerve a little bit. I'm not sure if this is for me. It just got really hard. This curveball was thrown at me. My job might promote me. Maybe I dive back into the job. My W-2 friends would be like, yeah, come back to safety. But these guys were like, it's not who you are. That's who you were. I don't know who you were. You told me you're becoming this. I'm going to hold you to that. And so when I would lose my nerve, I'd have these guys picking me up, just bumping me ahead a little bit. It wasn't like they were doing it for me, but just bumping me ahead a little bit so I would stay on task. So again, 40 years it took to get to the dream job, which actually wasn't my dream job. It actually was the beginning of my internal demise and shift in identity. 5 years to be where I am right now, and I see a completely incredible trajectory ahead of me. Not saying like, look at me, I'm so cool, I'm amazing. I have plenty of warts. I do plenty of stupid things. I have plenty of things that I could do way better on. I've wasted money. I've wasted time. I've done things that I shouldn't do in my businesses and in my life. And I haven't been the best husband at all times and haven't been the best father at all times and haven't been the best entrepreneur. But the trajectory and the change and the pace at which I'm going toward what I value and what I want is ahead by a factor of at least 4 or 5, simply by getting around other guys. So then it comes down, and I remember this discussion when I was joining this mastermind. I'm in a few different masterminds, to be clear. Like, I really believe in the power of cultivated community and then putting my money behind it. And I'll tell you why in a second. But the reason why I joined this mastermind, I remember when it was presented to me years ago, and I just didn't know what a mastermind was. It seemed weird. I got to pay money to be around friends, all that stuff. So GoBundance presents itself to me after I learned about it, and I resisted paying money, but then I eventually did. And really what it boils down to is a quote from Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi always says, we value money and we value time, and you spend the one you value least. You spend the one you value least. So I would say, and I think most people listening to this would say, well, time is more valuable than money. Time is way more valuable than money. But at the same time, by saying that and not putting the money down, which I value less, you spend the one you value least. I was spending the one I value more on trying to find the right people. I was trying to do these local real estate meetups. And then maybe at that meetup, when I go there, take time away from my family, it's a maybe game. Maybe I meet somebody really cool. And then maybe we have lunch together. And then maybe that turns into something. But we're having to come from a place of like understanding each other's values. Do they align? Understanding what's important to us. Do they align? What do you want from life? What do I want? There was just so many variables that we had to kind of I had to come into focus with these individuals I would meet, amazing individuals, but it was really hard. It took a lot of time, and I spent money on going out to dinner, going out to lunch, paying money to go to these real estate meetups, gas, and a lot of my time as well. All of that spent on trying to find these people. When I found GoBundance, they said, hey, we're about 6 things. We're about adventure, relationships, wealth, health, contribution, and accountability. We're about those 6 things. Everyone here joined understanding that that's what we're all about. To me, it was like, well, wait a minute. So I value money less. I'd rather spend that than my own time. I value time way more. So I'm going to plunk money down, and everybody in that room is aligned around these values that I value so highly. The answer is yes. So I walk into the room for the first time, and instantly I'm getting value because I'm able to communicate efficiently with other men that are driven by the same things that I'm driven by. So whether it's GoBundance, which I hope if you're listening to this, you're considering, or if there's something else out there that fits you, the idea of getting around the right people, the influence effect, and then leveraging the accountability effect in order to drive forward has been everything to me. That's my take on why men need to be surrounded by other high-value men, why high-value men need to be surrounded by other high-value men. Superheroes hang out in the League of Justice. They don't hang out with their buddy from college. Superman's not chilling with some dude that he met, a few years back who's got a beer belly. Superman's with other elite performers. And it's the same thing for all of us as men, especially in a time when being a man, having masculine traits is considered toxic or negative. It's so important to find yourself around the right people so that you can unlock the potential you have for your future. That's my take. Would love to know yours. Send me an email or drop it in the comments below on the YouTube version of this podcast. And I appreciate you subscribing and following along. Let me know. What do you think? Am I accurate on this? What hesitations have you had? Do you value time more than money or money more than time? And are you spending the right one? Big question maybe. So we'll see you on the next one.